Hi and welcome back to Dan Talks Football. It was brilliant to see so many of you watch the first episode where I talked about the top six. I think it's just a really good opportunity to go away from what's happening in the world and just talk about something that we all love. Um, Today I'll continue to go down the Premier League table as it stood before the suspension of the league. Um, I'll start with Sheffield United. Um, they've been brilliant this season. We forget they only just got promoted start end of last season. Um, I think Dean Henderson has been tremendous for them. If the Euros hadn't been suspended for a year, he could have easily been England number one. Um, I reckon he could be England number one next summer when the Euros, still labelled Euros 2020, will be held in 2021 for some reason. But I think he could be England number one. I think the likes of McBurney's been class for them, Lundstrom's been class. Um, so many little players who don't stand out as quality players, but Wilder has made them such a good team, such a hard team to beat, and they are really good on the ball as well, being a really good breath of fresh air in English football this season, and it'll be interesting how they do next season. Second season syndrome and all of that labelling, and it will be interesting to see if, because they deserve to qualify for Europe, they're still in for a chance to be Champions League, with a game in hand on those above them. But yeah, I think they're punching, but they'll be really proud of where they are, and full credit to Wilder and all the squad. Next up is Spurs. Spurs are a funny old team. I think selling Eriksen in the January transfer window was a big mistake for them. I think that sacking Poch was a massive mistake, even though I don't rate him as highly as a lot of people do. But Jose has come in. I love Jose. He's been a brilliant manager, brilliant addition to football. What he's brought to football has been magnificent over the years, but he's just had no effect on the football club whatsoever. You could say they're underachieving, but I don't see them as a massive football club. So maybe after them overachieving, this is them going back into where they probably should be, top side of the table, but not right up there. Obviously, they've been hindered massively by injuries to Kane, mostly Kane, Son as well recently. But when you look at it, it's only those two have been long-term injuries. Ndombele gets treated far too unfairly by Jose, and that's clear to see by everybody. He's not had time to settle into England. English football is just much faster paced than what he was used to. I think Lo Celso is a class player for them. I think Lamela on his day and used correctly can be a really good asset to their team, both attacking and getting his footing basically. He gets in ahead of opposition players and fans. Defensively and goalkeeper Lloris, yeah, he's not. He's obviously been world class, but I think he's past his best, and I think Spurs could freshen up at the goalkeeper between the posts. I think Alderweireld and Vertonghen should be playing more often. Sanchez is a bit of a hit and miss player. He sometimes plays fantastic, sometimes has a meh. It's very risky in the Premier League to have a player like that. Winks, not too sure what people see in him. But yeah, Lucas Moura, class player. When they're all fit, Lucas Moura, Son and Kane, and Ali on his day, they could be a force. At the moment, I don't think Ali's feeling it. I don't think he likes where the club is going or with Josie in charge. You just get that feeling with his when you look at his performances. But yeah, I think they need to improve if they want to continue to be a big club and use the stadium to actually win trophies. Next up is their rivals Arsenal. It's not much better for them, to be honest. 9th place for Arsenal, who are a massive club, is not good enough. They have a very good, potentially very good attack with Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil, and glimpses of Pepe coming good. But at the back, they're shambolic. They've improved under Arteta defensively, but they need to recruit, and given Arteta time in the summer or whenever the transfer's going to be, that's just enough of knock-on effect with this whole suspending the league and nonsense. As in, I think that it should be voided because it'll just be a knock-on effect all the way into next season. Next season we'll have to finish late, and then it's just a knock-on. Anyway, that'll be enough of video. Arteta will go into the transfer window, whenever it will be, and he'll go and sign centre back. He'll go and sign. See, fullbacks, they're covered because I think Saka, very good player. He could even play further forward. Tierney hasn't really had a chance to express himself in the Premier League just yet, so we'll see how that goes. Kolasinac is actually a pretty handy player, I think, on his day. Another place they need to improve is central midfield. Xhaka, he's hit and miss. I don't think he shouldn't have been captain in the first place when all of that kicked off. I think he can be a good player, but I don't think he should be Arsenal player. I think they can go out and get good business. Torreira and Guendouzi are both handy players, but Guendouzi needs to mature big time. But I think he could be a one to watch in the future. Torreira is again like Xhaka, hit and miss. He either plays really well or he's useless. I think going forward, Aubameyang, rumours are that he's going to leave in the summer. If he does, then they need to fill that hole ASAP, because he's such an important player for Arsenal and he digs them out of so many holes and gets them so many points. Just this season alone, he's got them so many points, and they would be bottom half without him. Ozil, Depends if he wants to play basically with him. He has the class, he has the quality, he's probably the best player quality wise at Arsenal, but it's the effort, and sometimes he looks really up for it, and then a couple of days later in the midweek game he doesn't look bothered. If Arteta can sort that out, then they've got a really good player that they can build around, but they need to sort that out. Next up is Burnley. Burnley. Really tricky team to play, really physical. Dyche has them set up tremendously. They have the likes of Wood, Barnes up top, Rodriguez, big physical, old school strikers, I call them old school. And they've got a really good winger in McNeil, who I really rate. And it'll be interesting to see how far, if the season does continue, they could push the likes of Arsenal, Spurs. They're 1 point away from Arsenal, 2 points away from Spurs. Can they push for Europe? I was speaking to a Burnley fan the other day. If the league's voided, it's a bit unfair on Burnley, because they could void this season where they could easily get into Europe, and then next season they could easily get relegated. It's one of those with Burnley. I think keeper wise, got a class keeper in Pope. He was enough one pushing for the number one spot. I think they're really physical, really hard to beat on their day, but off their day it's a bit of a yo-yo team, but recently they've been in really good form and pushed up that table. And Barnes is just a nasty player to come against. Any defence, any opposition fan, pretty much, he gets on their nerves every game they play. But that's what you want in a football team. And he is a really good player. So yeah, Burnley have had probably an above average season once again with Dyche. Next up is Palace. Palace is a funny one because people always talk about Wilfried Zaha when they talk about Crystal Palace. I actually think Zaha's had a underperforming season, but Palace are where they are again, 1 point from Arsenal, 2 points from Spurs, and in a way it shows a lack of quality by the so-called big clubs. But for Palace, players like Ayew stepped up, and Ayew was a total flop last few seasons since joining Palace, and he looked like he couldn't kick a ball, but he's really stepped it up in the last few months again, and they've really looked getting back to what Palace should be like. I think Gary Cahill's a really good signing by Hodgson. I think he's been brilliant at the back for them, bringing his experience, his quality from Chelsea, his leadership. I think Van Aanholt's a really good player for Palace, and I can see him moving on to a bigger club. I'm surprised a bigger club hasn't come for him. I know he used to be at Chelsea, but he is going forward and at the back a good player. Midfield could improve, but for Palace this season they have done really well because they were in a lot of trouble earlier on in the season. Again, they always seem to start slow, but they have improved, and again they've gone up and up the table, just like Burnley basically. They followed each other and done really well. Next is Everton. It's been a weird all season at Goodison. At the start they were dreadful. No ifs and buts about it. They were not great. And I think there was no system to them. There was no urgency about their playing. No need to go and win it for the fans or anything about it like that. But firstly, Big Dunk, what a nutter, but I love him. He came in and he really showed and brought that passion out of the players. And when Ancelotti came in, it was vital that they kept Big Dunk, Duncan Ferguson, in and around the players for that urgency, because Ancelotti's a quiet man, and to have Dunk next to him is just vital. And of course, Ancelotti, the tactics, the experience that he has over the last 2 to 3 decades now, it's just vital for any football club, and it's a really good appointment and really good for Everton Football Club that they can bring in a manager of that experience. Player-wise, I think Calvert-Lewin's been brilliant for them. He's really shown his quality, and he's coming out as a really good prospect for England as well. He would have been on the in the Euro squad. I think Richarlison's such an important player for Everton. He has his quiet games, but he is often in and around the goals and assists when they do get going and score goals. I think Coleman and Digne are very good fullback options. It's been brilliant to see Baines come back in the squad as well. Pickford is up for debate. Very good shot stopper, but seems to fumble when it comes to simple stuff, and that's why, in my opinion, he couldn't have been number one. Big personality and great shot stopper, but we need him to score to save the simple ones as well, such as the goal against Bruno Fernandes scored. A lot of the hype was around Bruno because it was his first away game and he's come in straight away scored, but it's a simple save. I honestly think if they can improve Pickford, they will improve the whole team, because a lot of the players the defence especially, won't trust Pickford to save those kind of shots and will get nervous off him. In the middle, Gomez, what a tremendous comeback he's had. They missed him when he was out. I think he's a great player on the ball, off the ball. Sigurdsson, I think he's past it, if I'm honest. It's a shame because he has been a tremendous player in the Premier League. So that is where I think Everton could improve, having a little playmaker in behind Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin and Bernard. Not Walcott, Bernard. I think Walcott's past it as well. A playmaker to keep the play going, to link up the midfield to the attackers. That's what Everton needs to push on to go back to where they were 10 years ago. Finally today, I'm going to talk about Newcastle. Newcastle are to where they got to now. They started the season poorly, and I think they don't have the best team. But individual performances, mainly from Saint Maximin, what a player, what a guy. His social media is unbelievable. Has been vital for Newcastle and their efforts to stay up this season. I don't think that they're a great side, but I think Bruce is doing brilliantly with what he has in front of him. Almiron, I like him personally. I think give him this time next season, he'll be Newcastle's main player along with Saint Maximin if he's still at the club. I think defensively they can obviously improve. They're not good enough. The league team, well, Dubravka's good, but what's in front of him needs improving. It's average for a Premier League club. Central midfield, Longstaff brothers. Again, I think they'll grow with experience. I'm not going to judge them too much at the moment because it's their first season, and what they've done this season has been, in the main, very decent. Well, not very decent, but good. But yeah, Bruce, what they need to do is get rid of their owner, Newcastle, and then build their club again. Get it back to the Newcastle that everyone loved in a way. And I think he's just holding them back at the moment. Yeah. Right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll do the rest of the clubs, the last 6 clubs, probably tomorrow, come out tomorrow, because I've got nothing better to do because I'm stuck at home. I love talking about football, I love talking about sport, so any topics, anything you want me to talk about, let me know. Any comments as well on the piece, any questions you want to ask me, just write below. Thank you for listening again. Give my page a subscribe, give my page a like, the post a like even. Yeah, thank you, stay safe.